Hello there, Adam here from Canadian Hobbies, and I'd like to give you my first look at the SNRC, MTS or Race OPT FFV3 front-wheel drive 110 scale touring car. So what you can see in front of me is the SNRC R3 Pro. This is set up for running USGT 21.5. And there's been a couple little mods that I've done with the car that I've made. So I'm going to kind of give a comparison between these two vehicles as they're a little bit closer in price point in comparison to the R3G. So here we have the FS3 as it comes out of the box. With the box, unfortunately, it kind of got a little banged up from packaging. You can see that it came from AliExpress through the SNRC seller page, and it ended up being $250 Canadian shipped to my house. That is everything, no taxes, nothing, just directly right to my house. And it had arrived earlier than expected, even though there was a little bit of shipping complications at the very start where there's something with the address issues or something. So it kind of went back to the seller and they got resent out again, and it still made it about a week ahead of schedule or close to a week. So very happy there. You can expect usually every single time I've ordered from the seller, it's come earlier than the estimated ship date. So we're gonna go kind of start off with what's comes in the packaging here, the manual. So a couple things is that they've, I guess, because they're dealing with Race OP, like they actually produce these cars, 14 powers and whatnot. So you actually have like their stickers that you can actually put in your car and stuff like that, which I might do for a couple of them, at least the MTS maybe. So with the car, it has, I guess, like a front plastic bumper with like a little foam insert that you that's taped onto the front. And I wasn't expecting that. I was expecting the full foam style. I was expecting this style here where it's like a foam bar, and got this where that's like a plastic insert, which I'll show you later, and it's like a little foam that's taped to the front. I rather have had the other version. That's what's shown in the pictures. So it was a little bit of shock, surprise there. So the manual kit. So it's kind of funny. This is like in color here, quite vibrant, and that's just plain. So a little weird there. So what looks a little bit better here is that in compared to the other manual for the R3G, R3 Pro, that manual was kind of like a generic manual and had different couple slides or pictures to show the differences between each car. This was a little bit more focused to the vehicle, but there, as you saw, there was not a lot of pages to explain how to put the car together. So with it already being put together, it's a good thing for, I guess, the average person. I would have preferred it as a kit stock because I like to build it. I can probably take the car apart anyways to put it together, or take it apart, go through the car, Loctite everything, and so forth. So the instructions, once again, are a little bit lacking there. So what's included? We got a couple of additional screws. They're gold ones that you see here. That's kind of, you'll see the car is kind of littered in that screw color. They are a 10.9 gauge, or not gauge, but grade screw, so not that strong. There's a couple of washers for your motor mount, mounting your motor, and then there's a 25 tooth 48 pitch pinion. We have various piston pistons for the shocks here, and you'll notice that one of these in particular, there's actually no holes. So you might say, if there's no holes, how does it actually do its dampening? So the car comes with the RAS shock. So these particular shocks, they have a taper internally. Um, the lower the piston down in the shock, the wider the taper. So what happens is that the lower or full throw of the shock, um, it is looser fit, so to speak, there in that area, and it allows for quicker dampening. And then as it moves, travels up the shock body, it gets progressively stiffer, or more as acts like a harder or higher weight of oil. So we have, looks like, I'm not exactly sure what this grease is, but there's grease here, packaging. There is also a really nice turnbuckle wrench that comes with the kit. The R3 Pro did not include that, the other one, so it's kind of a nice little thing. And then you see this little silver tool. That little silver tool goes in the very tops of the shock bodies, and it helps to keep it lined up straight before you tighten down the shock. These shocks, they have the shock shaft goes straight through the whole body of the shock. It's not just the very bottom hole, but actually to the bottom and top. So you need that to be lined up true so that it doesn't bind. So we have more additional screws here in the body clips. We have a little antenna post and different horns for different servos, 23 and 24 spline. And what we also have here, which I didn't know came with, and kind of sucks because I ordered a pair of these brackets. These are your battery brackets for shorty pack. I didn't know they came with that, and I ordered a pair, and that was like ended up being like almost like $20 to have that carbon fiber pair. So I could have saved myself that there. Sucks, but I'll use the brackets that are coming in elsewhere, I suppose. And then it looks like there is another fan melt bracket here that might be for like just purely a 30 millimeter or something. That I'll have to take a quick look into that later on down the road. And then these are the foam tape-on inserts I was talking about that go on the bumper. So on to my first impressions on the FFV3. So first thing I would like to note is the weight of the car. The plan with this car was to run it in, or plan is to run this in USGT class. And there's a couple of unique rules in that class. You can either run a four-wheel drive chassis, and if you run a four-wheel drive chassis, the minimum weight is 1350 grams. You can also run a front-wheel drive chassis with a hatchback body, and the weight limit is unlimited. So you can run the car as light or as heavy as you want. I was going to try to take advantage of that rule to run the car as light as possible. Now, where I kind of was shocked and surprised is that the R3 Pro, with its four-wheel drive chassis, without tires, weighs 471 grams. This car here, when I put it on a digital scale, came out to 538 grams. So now that was weighed with these tire rims, but weighing the rims, each rim weighs about 8 grams. So you shave off 8 times 4 or 32 grams. It still puts the car at 506 grams. So this car is 35 grams heavier than the four-wheel drive counterpart. Now, this is kind of like the older 2018 kind of version. So the shock towers and stuff like that sit much higher than the Pro does. And I don't know if we can get kind of a shot to show the difference. The height, not really too well. I don't have the best tools, and I should have been more prepared. but you can see that the top of the shock tower kind of gets to the top of the shock here, like this little cap here. So the other car ends up stopping right here. So you have, you know, almost an inch higher shock tower on the FFV versus the R3 Pro. So a couple things I already noticed with the vehicle is I think, the best thing I'm going to do is go through the whole car, take out the screws, and put Loctite on it. I When I got the R3G, the first one, screws were pretty good, but again, a lot of those parts were going into plastic. I started running into the issues, even though everything kind of felt snug and tight on the R3 Pro, screws were backing out. I've already noticed in this particular car that some of the screws are loose as well. When I was kind of fidgeting with the battery post, backing off this one screw on one of the sides, these posts started to wiggle as well. So that indicated to me that, anything that's going into metal, I should put some Loctite on just to make sure. Another thing is it could be just because, it's the bearings have the grease in it, not so much of thin oil. It could be because the belt's tight, but the front doesn't spin that freely. There is a lot of drag and resistance to the front end. With being a front wheel drive layout and with the spur and motor up very front, you only can get your arms leaned down so much. So you can see that the shocks are significantly they're standing straight up versus on a touring car. The rear is a little bit better, but one thing I noticed with the rear is, if I can try to get this in shot, I do apologize, is that, geez, I am not having a good time. I don't know how to position the camera for the car. It's hard to tell, and I do apologize, but the shock's leaning back compared to the bottom. So spacers will probably want to be put. Spacers probably want to be put on the very bottom to push the bottom out so they're more straight in line. So, I'm starting off with the negatives, which you never really want to do, but those are things that I noticed off the bat that, didn't really tickle my pickle, make me that happy. Let's get on to, some good points in the car, or just some notable points. So this is the front bumper. I don't know how it's going to be, just because it's plastic, right? Like, you're going to take a hard hit. Is it going to break? There's flex here, but not so much anywhere else. Like, I hope it's not going to snap or bust the bottom of the carbon fiber. The sway bars are really unique in these cars, is that it's a bar that goes across here. And, on the other style of sway bars, that's on the Pro, when you compress this side, you really kind of question, is it doing much of anything to bring this side up? On this, it's kind of, how is it going to be? And I guess it's kind of a little ball end in there. But when you compress this side, you can see it is actually doing something. It is bringing the other side up. The same can be said for the front. You can see that it is actually working. It's doing something. So I'm pushing that up, and I give light pressure, and it's going up. So I think, that's way of our setup really impresses me there. What was a really unique and cool feature is on the back of the car, you can see there is a series of 3 countersunk holes. What these are for is that you can adjust your rear toe from 1.5 to 2 and 2.5. A really nice, clean detail. And let's see if I can get in a shot. I do apologize for the blur. It's hard to see, but on those, by those threaded holes, is actually text indicating what degree it is. So, that's a cool little feature there. That's really, a nice little touch. Again, for the cost of the car, it's amazing in that regard. The whole car is pretty much all carbon fiber and aluminum. Any of the steel components, like your CVDs, your tie rods, and whatnot, is made out of S2 spring steel. So there's a lot of quality in this car for the price. Um, I've been having some pretty decent success with the R3 Pro and the R3G when I ran it. So I'm looking forward to this. Um, the rear hubs are kind of kit standard amongst all the vehicles, I believe, and it uses the same kind of steel end from the CVDs. Uh, is there even the? But I don't know if it actually may not be the same because I'm not seeing a hole. Oh no, there's a hole. So yeah, it is literally the ends from the CVDs used to hold in the back, in which it makes complete sense. Um, what kind of surprises me is, these have like, and I always kind of want about front-wheel drive cars is that they kind of like as if they kind of ditch the rear diff and stuff like that, but they still keep the same um, rear bulkheads. But I don't recall. I can't see any of the vehicles that share this actual bulkhead. So it's like they made this part here to be four-wheel drive out of a four-wheel drive part, but it's not even used on any other four-wheel drive car. So they could have done stuff to made it more unique for a front-wheel drive layout, um, or something like that. The battery kind of tray is kind of unique, where or smart. You have these thumb screws, and I was first wondering why they need some thumb screws. But you back the thumb screw out, and then you can rotate and slide your battery out. So that's kind of cool, smart thinking there to quickly get your battery out to charge between races. Now this car and as well as the T3 and T3M use like a center ball link or center. I'm not sure it's called bell link. I think steering setup. Uh, so your normal touring car tends to have two links that kind of go back and forth to cause for your steering. As you can see here, there is the two links on this car, and then it kind of just your bell crank slides it back and forth. This has the belt crank where it has bearings on the center, and then as it slides back and forth, it just kind of swings like a pendulum. Um, so, one thing is this will have a different change to your Ackerman in comparison to the other one, because as the other more traditional style steering goes, as you steer to one direction or the other, the link kind of pulls in and gets your front arms at the links at a more steeper angle, change your Ackerman, where this would have that reduced. It has the dual CVDs up front as well. So it's not just a standard CVD, but it's a dual CVD. Now, the steering for this car, and same as the Pro, is that it has these aluminum inserts that you can see it so well. I can try to take a wheel off if I know where a tool is. What I do not know. So I'm just gonna leave it on for now. But actually I can show on this car. So both cars have these aluminum steering blocks that has two bearings in it, and it allows for the knuckle to pivot quite well, quite easily. The problem with these cars is that all the stress is down on the very bottom of these knuckles. And if you check on my other videos, you can see what I'm talking about. It's a little plastic shaft that goes down. And this car with the graphite arms is much more stiff, but you can see there is a significant amount of flex going on. And that could lead to snapping these knuckles. What I've come up with is, it's just kind of from other vehicles too. You can see it where it has like just two tie rods, two links, and by having that two links, it significantly stiffens that whole front end assembly. And when I contacted SNRC about that idea, or to show them, hey, this is actually pretty good. They had already come up with doing that, and they were in the process of releasing that kit. So I think the kit number is 929058. This kit, what it does is it has ball end with stainless steel tie rods, and it would be a direct swap into the car. And what they also have going on is they have these. There's two options: one's with and without a ball end here, and that ball end is to prevent your body from hitting the tire. So that was their take on preventing body rub on the tires. The car arms, and what's kind of unique and cool is they have these like rubber O-rings, and that's what the suspension rides on. So it keeps it kind of taut. The rubber allows it to conform and move where it needs to, but it's it's rock solid. Actually, surprisingly, it doesn't have any really side to side play. Motion feels really good. It'd be different once I take off the shocks. Um, Overall, I'm pretty happy with I'm definitely happy with the quality of the vehicle. I should say that. I start off. I'm definitely happy with the quality of the car. I've been very impressed with the R3 Pro in particular. Also been impressed with the R3G. Um, I'm hoping that the stiffness or the freeing of the drivetrain will come as the car is used. But right now, it's really stiff, and I'm not happy about that. So I'll see what it does. Again, the bearings might need to be soaked in some sort of like brake cleaner or some solvent to break down the grease, and then put some lightweight oil to help free up the drivetrain. I am not happy with how heavy the vehicle is. That came to me as a shock, considering that it's half the drivetrain. Um, that was just something I did not expect. So, the one whole goal with this vehicle, the advantage I was hoping to have, might go up in flames, so to speak, unless I can, unless I can do something significant. I kind of just quickly roughed in the weight of all my parts, and the car is going to come in at around 1,160 grams. I was hoping to be below 1,100 into the tens, but that might not be possible with the vehicle without anything significantly happening and changing with the car. So I have a race day coming up in a few days, so I'll get to test this car, but I hopefully get to test this car alongside the SR Pro, or sorry, the R3 Pro, and just get a feel for both vehicles. Both are going to be left as a USGT vehicle, so we kind of have a nice side-by-side comparison um, when testing. So I do appreciate you checking out my video on the SNRC MTS FFV3 front-wheel drive 110 scale touring car chassis. I hope to have more of a series on these vehicles and follow-up information on all of them. Thanks for checking out. I guess I'm going to do a little teaser thing. What I've been kind of just producing in my own spare time, just for fun, is because the R3 Pro is so lightweight, I end up having to throw in like 100+ grams into the car just to get it up to spec. I made these brass center spine weights for the car that run along the whole center of the chassis, and you can kind of see the spine running along the whole car. As well, you see I made there's the battery brass holders. But the one inside that car weighs about 75 grams. These are about 85 grams. And I'm hoping that with the series of holes down the length of the chassis, I can kind of put more screws in or take them out to add or reduce flex in the car. I run on a black CRC carpet, so a lot of people are running aluminum chassis. It's almost like a must. Ooh, but I hope I can beg to differ and still retain using carbon fiber, and mess around with this. So this is Adam from Canadian RC or Canadian Hobbies signing off. Thanks for checking out my video.